Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. A new report is out that shows that consumers will make cuts to their gas and electric due to inflation before they do their broadband service. Be right back and we'll talk about that. Hey, thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here with Broadband Deployment News. So I thought this was interesting. With inflation, people are having to make cuts in different areas as costs of everything has gone up, including in some cases broadband service, but certainly utilities, groceries, all kinds of things have gone up in cost. So I just want to look at this real quick and see what this report found out. So I saw this in Telecompetitor. We'll take a look at the, I'll have a link also to the actual report. So both this article and the link to the actual survey is down in the description of the video. So you see here a new telecom spending report from Recon Analytics says that as the U.S. experiences high inflation rates, consumers would rather reduce expenditures for electricity, heating, or car payments than home internet or mobile service. Only 8% of respondents in the Recon Analytics survey said they are planning to cut back on their home internet and mobile service expenditures as a result of higher costs. That puts home internet and mobile service just above health insurance and housing as expenditures that consumers are unwilling to reduce due to inflationary pressures. One area where respondents are more likely to cut expenses is streaming video and audio, which represents the expenditure category that consumers are fourth most likely to reduce. This is in line with similar research from TiVo, which found that consumers are switching from paid video services to free streaming options. So in a way that is a cut to broadband service. So, if somebody's going to cut their electricity or their gas, they're not going to cut it off. They're going to reduce what they're using. So they're going to say, you know what, let's turn off lights. We haven't been thinking about turning off lights that we're not using. They'd probably start doing that. They might say, let's turn the thermostat up or down, depending on the season, and we'll try to cut back that way. They're not going to cut off their service. Well, they're not going to cut off their broadband either, is what this is saying, I think. But they are looking at cutting back maybe in what they're doing on broadband. And some of that could have to do if there are usage costs on broadband. For example, if they're doing a lot of streaming and they decide, you know what, we need to back down on our broadband package, maybe stop doing so much streaming and cut back on our broadband package. Or they could say, we're just going to keep the broadband package where it is and we're going to cut back on our streaming services. So maybe they're paying for Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Max now, and they say, you know what, let's just keep Netflix for right now. Or let's keep Netflix and let's move to some what they call fast service, a free TV service, streaming service. So that would be like Pluto or something like that. So there's lots to watch on streaming where you don't actually have to pay a subscription. Yeah, you don't get all of the original content that you would get, let's say, on Netflix or Disney Plus or HBO Max, but there's lots of old shows that people watch, game shows, sitcoms, dramas, those kinds of things that are on these fast kinds of services like Pluto, like Hulu, and others that you can watch movies, Crackle, those kinds of things. So I think people are looking at that, and part of that was taking place even prior to inflation, because people started, as they were cutting the cord from their video service, they might say, we don't need Comcast video, cable service anymore, or some other provider, cable TV or pay TV. Some people were saying that we don't need that, and they were deciding to go with other options. In some cases, it was streaming, and they might go, let's get Netflix. But then Disney Plus came out, and then HBO Max came out, and then Paramount Plus came out. And suddenly people were paying all of these monthly recurring fees for streaming service. And they're like, you know what, this is getting really expensive. Plus, those prices had gone up. So what started out, for example, with Netflix started out at a certain price, and that price has gone up over time. Same with Disney Plus, that price went up. Or they were saying, you know what, we'll cut our cable TV and we'll get YouTube TV because we can get that for $45 a month. I think it was when it started. Well, now it's $65, I think. So it's gone up $20. So let's say you have YouTube Plus for your base linear TV option, and then you have 3 or 4 streaming services. People are starting to cut back on that stuff. It was like subscription fatigue is what they called it, where it's like, you know what, we're starting to pile up all these charges. Let's be let's be a little more organized in how we do this. And what some people are doing is, if they like a particular show on a channel, these are all month-to-month kinds of things. Unlike, maybe their cable TV service in the past, you signed up and you had to pay for it for a year or something like that. these are month to month, so you can decide, I'm going to go ahead and watch on Netflix Stranger Things. I'm going to watch that. When that's over, let's see, I think I'll switch to Disney Plus and watch The Mandalorian. And so they can kind of do one streaming service at a time and kind of cancel one and then come back to it again later when the next season comes out or some other program. So people have already starting to do some of that. But, you know, what this, I think, is showing that people are, they're not going to necessarily mess with their broadband connection. Like I say, they may determine that they could reduce the cost of their broadband connection if they reduce the amount of streaming, but in some cases, they're just reducing the streaming packages that they're paying for. The research also found that there's a little difference of opinion between subscribers of different internet providers. Only 7% of AT&T customers at the low end and 9% of Verizon customers at the high end are looking to reduce their spending on home internet services. So that does kind of tell you that, you know, they might be paying for a certain package right now, and they're not really looking at reducing the cost, even while they might reduce what they're doing on that connection. Results were similar for mobile services, with only 7% of T-Mobile customers and 8% of AT&T customers looking to reduce their mobile costs. So maybe they're not looking to back down to a lower plan that would have, let's say, less data usage or something like that. According to the report, consumers also look at potential discounts, with more than a half willing to switch to a new provider to obtain the best deal on a new device or to further cut cost savings or further cost savings. In contrast to the reluctance to cut back on home internet and mobile service expenditures, half of the consumers said they were expecting to reduce spending at restaurants by eating at home more. And that's certainly one of the first things that goes anytime there's something like this, because you can generally eat much cheaper at home if you buy the food and prepare it yourself. And it mentions in here that consumers are kind of trained to do that now because of the pandemic. You know, there was a period of time where people were doing a lot of eating out, and then suddenly they couldn't, not because they couldn't afford it necessarily, although some did lose their jobs, but because the fact that places just weren't open. So people, they're saying you were kind of used to that. I'm not sure what they were saying here. Researchers caution service providers, though, that you can't cut yourself to growth. Verizon is a cautionary tale of what happens when you cut your regional sales structure and take away the ability to build a deep and wide management bench by having a large number of P&Ls, so P&Ls where people can learn the business. So I'm not sure exactly what they're saying there. But I think it is a cautionary tale for service providers to not see this and go, oh, hey, we can raise our prices and we're just going to raise them until people start to squeal and then we'll stop. They're not saying that. What they're saying is right now, people this would be a place where they would be less likely to be cutting service now, but that doesn't mean that you can willy-nilly raise prices. But it does say that broadband service is less price sensitive or inflationary sensitive maybe than some of these other things. That's not surprising. Like I say, utilities, people will cut back on what they do on their utilities. They'll cut back on how much gas they're using, how much electricity they're using. They'll do what they can, and they certainly, if you push too hard, they're going to make changes to their broadband plan as well, and just need to keep that in mind. So here is the report, so to speak, or the survey. So this spent a lot of time on other things, so I didn't want to go through all this in detail, but I was going to show this image here. So this is showing, again, dining out, kind of number one, as you might expect, regardless of the pandemic. That's one of the first things people can do to cut back. Clothing and shoes, same thing. It's like if you can put off buying clothes and shoes now while inflation is high and prices are high. I don't see cars on here, car payments, but you know the price of cars has gone up quite a bit, especially used cars. So I think people already had cut back on that, especially as interest rates go up. So it's not just inflation, but things like interest rates will cut back on those kinds of purchases. You got credit cards here. So people that may be cutting back what you're spending on credit cards, because everything you spend, you either have to pay off, or it just means that your interest, because of your interest rate on that your interest payments are going to be higher. So maybe they're trying to cut back on interest payments there. Then here you've got the as they're calling, let's scroll down here. So you see these are all kind of under discretionary. So dining out, discretionary, clothing, credit cards, and then streaming, audio and video, and cable TV, all discretionary. So this could be where somebody's paying for the pay TV service in addition to getting broadband. And you know what? We're going to cut back on that. We're going to go from having all the premium channels to just kind of the basic cable for now. We're going to completely cut the cord. But again, if you completely cut the cord, then you have to decide, well, are we going to add more streaming services to replace that? So there's, you know, a lot of people have cut the cord, but a lot of people are realizing, you know what, I miss my linear TV that I can turn on and watch whatever I want, whenever I want. Not, well, kind of, or watch what I want. So I think people will be, you know, looking at maybe making cuts there, but not necessarily cutting the cord unless they have to, because again, they're interested in entertainment, as we see. Automotive and gas, you know, people can drive less or try to, again, that's the kind of thing where it's like, you know what, let's take two cars to church this Sunday because it's just going to be kind of crazy. You might all get in the same car and drive there and not have to waste some gas. Or let's start looking. I notice Costco gets more busy as prices go up in gas. So you go try to buy gas at Costco, and the lines are crazy when the prices go up. As soon as the prices ease back a little bit, I think people are less cost conscious, and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm closer to the Gulf station here. Is it Gulf now? BP, whatever. I'm showing my age. I'm close. I never buy anywhere but Costco. So I'm closer to the BP station here. I'll go ahead and stop here. It's not that much higher. It's not worth driving all the way to Costco. Well, when prices get really high, people go, it's really worth it to go there. So, you know, automotive and gas, they'll do what they can there. They may put off getting the oil change or whatever. Gym membership. Yeah, these are kind of discretionary things you don't have to do. You know, automotive gas stuff is not discretionary from the standpoint of you may have to go to work and those things, but you'll cut back on your discretionary driving, I guess. Home electricity and gas, you can't cut that off again. People are not cutting it off, but they're cutting their usage of that. Car payment, you might have to renegotiate your payment. Or, you know, sometimes people will get to a point where they really have to stop paying something, and a car payment might be the first thing they stop paying if they have to stop paying something. Then you see here, home internet service and mobile service. They're not likely to cut off their connectivity. It's possible that they might reduce their plan where they can pay less and still get connectivity. Maybe they don't need that gig internet service, and they go, you know what, we can get by with 100 by 100, and they can cut their costs somewhat. Then you got other things in here like health insurance. These are your last resort things. So people, you know, they want to make sure that they're covered on their health. Not much you can do with your rent or mortgage. You cut off your car payment, it's going to take longer for somebody to come repossess your car. You don't want to kick it out of your home. Student loans, depending on the type of loan, you can maybe put that off. Life insurance, childcare, those kinds of things. I mean, I don't know what you do with childcare. Maybe you find somebody to maybe go back to your parents, say, hey, can you watch the kids instead of putting them in a childcare place? So then they got some certain number of people that don't plan on cutting anything. So, you know, this does show how important broadband is, and it's very interesting because as I've mentioned before, I've been in this business since the beginning, since before broadband. So we were providing dial-up internet services here in the Atlanta area when we started out in the early, well, really closer to mid-90s, like 93, 94, right when dial-up internet was available. That's what we were. We were a dial-up internet provider. And not long after that, we started helping other companies get in the internet business. Now, at that time, it was dial-up, but we started helping telephone companies and independent companies get in the internet business. You didn't have to be a phone or cable company. You could have your own phone lines and provide internet service. That's what we did. We helped people get in the internet business, and we provided managed services for them. We did their tech support, which we still do today for broadband operators. We did device activation, which, you know, and authentication, which we still do today for cable and fiber, those kinds of things. We did help with engineering and kinds of things. And we still do all of this stuff, but now it's broadband. But it was interesting over time watching the shift as we started working with telephone companies to begin with that were getting into the broadband business through dial-up and then later DSL. And then cable companies, as they started offering internet service through one-way cable service where you had a telco return. That was, I'm dating myself again. So when cable modems first came out, you had what was called telco return. Upstream was not that important, but basically, like it is, it's less important today, but more important than it was. But upstream wasn't really that important. So telco return was where you had a cable modem and you would get the fast speed downstream through the cable line, but they didn't have two-way communication over the coax cable. So you had a telephone connection that would return the data. So when you were typing something and saying, I want to go to this website, that went over your phone line, and then the website came down over your cable. So that was telco return. So those were the early days. And over time, you know, we saw then where the cable TV was still the most important thing in the house. The internet was secondary. And the telephone service was still the most important thing in the house from the telephone company. Internet was secondary, but that started to switch over time where suddenly it's like the cable TV's out, nobody cared. It's like the internet's out, that's what they really care about. Same thing on the phone from the phone providers. The phone's out, we don't care. We just want our internet service. So now you can see how important it is. Broadband is really where it's at. So this is what people are interested in these days. So you can see that in this survey as well, reference there. So thanks for joining me. If this was interesting for you, if you'd please give me a like on the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hello, Penny Pincher. Thank you for joining and watching. And this is about pinching pennies, which is interesting. Again, if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified, and you'll be notified when I am live. I will see you next time for Broadband Deployment News. Take care. Bye-bye.